uppercut, uppercut, sonic boom.
It seems like only yesterday we were talking about the AKM versus the M762 and lamenting the fact that the AK is obviously so far behind the curve in the 762 AR competition. Ignition of 1.5 has really changed the field, and the AKM, more than any other weapon in PUBG Mobile, has received a huge buff. It's not been anything to do with the recoil. The recoil is still god-awful and difficult to control over any kind of range. It's nothing to do with the damage. The damage is still the same, 47.9 base damage, which is the highest base damage of any AR in the game. It is everything to do with the rate of fire. The AKM's rate of fire, or rounds per whatever you want to do it, is now terrifically buffed. In update 1.5, it got about a 20% haircut off the top, and that's really changed the way the game is looking for me. One of the things about the AKM that has always been so terrific is it's fantastic early game. You pick it up, it's plug and play. You don't have to muck around with it. It only does one thing well, and that's close quarters combat headshots, and you run with it as a placeholder until you find your M416 or your M762 or get an airdrop, Mark 14, whatever you want to do. But it's a transit weapon. It's a gateway weapon that leads you on to something else. It's not necessarily the case anymore. When I say this got a haircut, I mean it really picked up the pace. It now fires at the same rate as an M416. And it has a round that is 7.9 base damage higher. The M4 does 40.9. The AK does 47.9. 7 base damage higher, sorry. That's a huge difference. That's like 20% more damage with one weapon than the other, and yet the same rate of fire. What does this mean? Well, the AK's key was always very, very simple. If you can hit headshots with the AK, you're going to be all right, because the AK's base damage into a no-helmet target was 110. 110. So if you pick this up on an airdrop and the other guy didn't have a helmet and you hit one headshot, you won the engagement. There was no contest. Now it gets that same base damage, the same fantastic alpha damage, and it gets it with such an upgraded rate of fire that it's become a weapon you can hold all the way through the game very comfortably and be extremely successful with. And the other thing that most people don't really understand about this is that every single weapon starts at 0. So this is why I get so upset with like damage per second, or, you know, damage per 100 rounds or whatever. It's not really a gunfighting statistic. If you are both starting at 0 and one of you does 47.9 and one of you does 40, then the advantage is with you. And when you both have the same rate of fire, catching up, like a 5.56 AR catching up to an AKM, is no longer a thing that's going to happen in close quarters combat. And it doesn't really matter whether you're hitting headshots, chest shots, or body or arm and leg shots. It's going to mean you just do more damage. And starting at 0 is something most people don't even think about. But the AKM is the king of starting at 0, well, along with the Grazar. But obviously, because the Grazar has the same rate of the same base damage, 47.9. So, are we going to be seeing more AKM in the game? Well, I would expect so. I would absolutely be shocked, horrified, and surprised if the meta isn't undergoing a monumental shift right now. We're going to have to talk about the UMP very shortly as well. And I'm going to do a video on that. But the AKM has reinvented itself to the point now where it is legitimately questionable whether you take an AK or a barrel M762. And that is a terrifying thing to think about. They've both got nearly exactly the same time to kill, and while the AK doesn't have the control of the barrel because it doesn't have a low rail attachment, it has more base damage. The barrel is 45.9 base versus the AK's 47.9 base. Lovely double headshot here. Just hit that mark one time again. If you haven't tried the new AK in 1.5, you absolutely should. And I love the fact that they're still tinkering with the numbers on the weapons and the rate of fire. PUBG Mobile are the only people that have the stats on the most used weapons and who does the most damage and which weapons have the most success in gunfights. And they balance those stats for everyone, not just the super players, not just the guys who run around with 9 and 10 KDR and make Conqueror every season. They balance them for everyone. And this is one of the reasons why there are often opportunities to exploit weapons towards the start of patches as weapons get changed and newer players don't understand. So if you're running with an AKM, I would hold on to it if you feel comfortable with it. And the fact that you can adjust sensitivity now across every different weapon means that you're able to have an AKM sensitivity that specifically will super duper allow you to drag that thumb down and control your recoil rather than having to have the same sensitivity of an M416 and an AKM, which just doesn't work. They're very, very different weapons and have very, very different recoil characteristics. So if you see me in game and I'm running around with an AKM and not an M762, it's not a mistake. The weapon is certainly something that I think in solos is brilliant because I know I can play to that style when I'm on my own. In squads, I might go with the barrel just because there's more versatility and the AK is absolutely unique and personified towards close quarters combat. But don't be fooled. This is a gun that will perform better than ever. Like better than ever before if you give it the chance. I'm Bushka. Thank you so much for watching. If you're wondering where all these numbers are, there is a spreadsheet on my Discord server. The link to the Discord server is in the description below. Remember, it's very easy to find and the spreadsheets are there and they're updated regularly. I'm probably going to take down the bushka.com very soon because it costs me money to keep it up and it doesn't seem to ever get any hits. All the sites that have the wrong numbers get the hits, so whatever. Look after yourself, stay safe in the battlefield, and as always, bye for now.